اوكي شيخ تفضل ان شاء الله تعالى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك، ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Brothers and sisters, it's my honor once again to welcome you to another episode in our series Illuminate Your Life, a study of 101 traditions from the Prophet of Mercy, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And today I have a beautiful tradition on business transactions and interactions. I will read it in Arabic and then explain, inshallah, and try to understand some of the lessons that we can follow in our daily life to enhance our understanding and practice of Islam. رحم الله رجلا سمحا إذا باع وإذا اشترى وإذا اختلى. In a variant report, سمحا إذا باع وسمحا إذا اشترى وسمحا إذا اقتضى. May Allah have mercy on a person who is generous when he sells, generous when he buys, and generous when he demands his rights. The narrator of this is Jarir ibn Abdullah, and it is recorded by Imam Bukhari in the Sahih, and of course in other collections as well. Jabir ibn Abdullah died in the year 78. He was born before Hijrah. He and his father and entire family were companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was one of the most prominent companions from Ansar of the Khazraj tribe. He accompanied the Prophet very closely and was always keen to retain the traditions of the Prophet and pass it on, acting upon them and passing it on. He was one of the greatest transmitters of the Hadeeth and a mufti. He would sit down and teach and give rulings in the Prophet's mosque until he died. He is credited with 1,540 traditions preserved in various sources, including Bukhari and Muslim. In another report from Jabir, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah forgave the sins of a person from the past for his magnanimous behavior while selling, buying, and demanding his rights. The word used by the Prophet is samhan. It has various shades of meaning, such as liberal, bountiful, munificent, or generous, forgiving, facilitating. And all of these are intended in the above tradition of the Prophet. One of the most beautiful teachings of Islam is that we should strive as much as possible to qualify ourselves with the beautiful attributes of Allah. Since Allah is the most liberal, generous, bountiful, beneficent, forgiving, He wants us to act towards His servants in the same way. Ibadullah. We are also reminded that Allah will deal with us in the same way we deal with others. وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Surah 24, verse 22. And let them excuse and pardon. Don't you want Allah to forgive you? Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. In order to explain this point further, the Prophet cited the following example. One of the men of the ancient times was brought for judgment before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, the angels did not find any record of good deeds attributed to his credit, except the one single fact that he was a very rich man and he is to order his workers to forgive the debtors who were unable to repay. So Allah said, we are more worthy of doing so than him. Saying this, Allah ordered the angels to forgive him. Of course, he was a believer who did not have much good deeds, but this one single good deed he consistently practiced worked for his favor. He freed him from hellfire. The tradition mentions the Prophet's tradition we cited earlier Three examples relating to our interactions with others: selling, buying, and demanding our rights. Of course, it's not limited to them. It's not limited to buying and selling and demanding taking back our loan. No, instead, it covers all aspects of our interactions with others. The Prophet singled out the three as most people lack decency and good morals, especially in regards to such matters. Selling is where most people fail the test of integrity. Allah warns, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا قَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. Woe to the defrauders or cheaters who demand full measure when they receive from people, but short them when they measure or weigh for them. Don't they think that they will be resurrected for a trying day, a terrible day, the day when humankind will stand before the Lord of the universe for final reckoning? The verse stresses the importance of ethical behaviors in transactions, being fair and upfront with the prices. Don't change the price looking at the face of the person or looking, this man doesn't know anything about the market, so I might as well, quote a higher price. Trustworthy and accountable, and fixing the price, not change it according to whims. We have to fix it according to the market price, and providing accurate information about the product one is selling. Also, willingness to consider the condition of the customer you are selling. You may have to forego. You may have to sell for a lesser price because the man wants this badly and he cannot afford it. Okay. Abu Hanifa, Rahmullah, Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the greatest Imams in the entire history of Islam, he is known as Al Imam Al Alam, the great Imam, grand Imam. He set a beautiful example in ethical behavior as a seller. To mention two stories, there are many other examples in his life. Once he dispatched a set of goods to his agent in another city to sell. That parcel contained some pieces that were defective, while others were fine. Of course, this cloth was a cloth merchant. So, while dispatching this parcel, he issued strict instructions to the agent that there are defective pieces. So, you should not charge full price, should sell them at a lower price. But the agent forgot the instructions of Imam Abu Hanifa and sold them more at the regular price. On hearing this, Abu Hanifa rahmahullah became so sad, and he donated the entire proceeds of the entire dispatch in charity, because he didn't want to even have a taint of haram in his on it, even anything tainted with haram. Once a woman brought a silk cloth to sell to him, very precious, and of course she demanded 100 dirhams. Abu Hanifa rahmahullah said, no, it is worth more, and continued to raise. The lady would increase another 100, another 100, another 100, but still Imam Abu Hanifa insisted it is worth more. And finally the woman asked him, are you making fun of me? He said, no. Saying this, he called for an estimator from the market who praised its true worth, which was way higher than what she asked for. And Imam Abu Hanifa offered her that price. This is honesty, this is integrity in business. This is the kind of Islamic ethics in business. And many people would say if you practice Islamic ethics in business, you won't make any profit. Abu Hanifa's life falsified, is a lies. Because Abu Hanifa rahmahullah was a very successful businessman, and so was the case with Imam Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu anhu, a disciple of Abu Hanifa. He was a very prosperous businessman, but they did the business, demonstrating and completing all of the ethical behavior uh, conditions of Islamic business practices. The Prophet ﷺ prays on behalf of those who demonstrate ethical human behaviors in transactions. He stresses leniency, liberality, and munificence. Even as the seller must demonstrate such traits, the buyer also must do so. Of course, many times we bargain and we continue to do so, forgetting the fact this man has to make a living. We do so, we don't go do that in the big shopping mall. If somebody is selling something in the street, this poor man is making a source of living from this small business. We will bargain more and more, forgetting this is being unfair. This is not Islamic ethics in business. You must never indulge in underhanded methods. Of course, when a seller has a right to demand a fair price, he must not indulge in underhanded methods to deprive the rights of the seller. The buyer has a right to demand a fair price, but he should not use underhanded methods uh, to deprive the rights of the seller, because seller has to make a living. Likewise, while demanding the repayment of the loan, one should do so gently without hurting the feelings of the debtor, and do his best to be flexible, lenient, and forgiving as circumstances demand. The Prophet cited the above story to demonstrate the behavior of a true believer. Here again, Abu Hanifa set a beautiful example, as he would freely forgive his debtors who were unable to repay him. That is the way this alim understood and applied the knowledge that he learned from the Quran and Hadith of Rasulullah. Lessons: Islam is not a religion of merely rituals and dogmas. Instead, it is compassionate living. Allah is compassionate and forgiving, so He demands His servants to demonstrate these qualities in treating His servants. Allah wants us to demonstrate the ethical behaviors in our transactions and interactions with others. While exercising or demanding our rights, we must do so with a liberal and generous spirit. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.